When the mind is still, the world becomes clear, the essence of Buddhist insight. When we hear the phrase seeing things as they are, our instinctive response is often, pay more attention, observe more carefully. That sounds reasonable, but in truth, it misses the essence of the insight the Buddha pointed to. The issue is not a lack of attention, it lies in the nature of attention itself. Our attention is always colored by reaction. We do not merely look, we judge, compare, remember, reflect. We say, this flower is beautiful. It reminds me of my old garden. I should take a photo. Yet none of these thoughts are the flower itself. They are merely the mind's reactions, thin layers of smoke between us and reality. This is what the Buddha called samjna, the mental function that labels and interprets the world. Through it, we navigate daily life, yet because of it, we mistake concepts for reality. When we look at a flower, what we see is no longer the living event unfolding before our eyes, but the idea of flower, shaped by memory, culture, language, and the self. Therefore, to see as it is not to look more closely, but to look without the mist of conceptualization. A pure seeing before thought intervenes. Before the ego appears to name, to possess, to tell a story about me and what I see. In the scriptures, the Buddha used a profound phrase, yathabhutanyana dasana, knowledge and vision of things as they truly are. This seeing unfolds on three deep levels. 1. Seeing without the filters of greed, lobha, and hatred, dosa. Most of the time, we do not see people or things as they are, but only their relationship to our ego. The one I like, the one I hate, what I want, what I should avoid. The world is viewed through the lens of what does this bring me? But if, for just one moment, we could look without the rising of like or dislike, what we see would be entirely different, clear, still, and unconditional. 2. Seeing beyond concepts, panati. The Buddha never rejected language or concepts. He said, I use the language of the world, but I do not cling to it. The problem is not in saying person, I, soul, or object, but in believing those words refer to fixed, independent realities. The nun Vajira once said, just as with the combination of parts we call it a chariot, so too, when the five aggregates exist, we call it a being. The chariot does not exist apart from the wheels, axle, and frame. Likewise, the so-called I does not exist apart from form, rupa, feeling, vedana, perception, sana, mental formations, sankhara, and consciousness, vijnana. These names are mere conventions for communication, not ultimate truths. When we forget this, we begin to cling to concepts, believing there is a me, a my life, from which fear, comparison, and suffering arise. 3. Seeing the three marks of existence, tilakkhana. True seeing is the direct recognition of the three characteristics of all phenomena. Anicca, impermanence. All phenomena arise and pass in every moment, not will perish, but are perishing right now. Dukkha, unsatisfactoriness. Whatever is impermanent cannot be a lasting source of happiness. Anatta, non-self. There is no separate subject to experiences, there is only experience unfolding by itself. This is not a doctrine to believe in, but a reality that can be seen directly when the mind is silent and bright. The difference between understanding and seeing is crucial. Understanding is conceptual knowledge, knowing about something. Seeing is direct knowing, unmediated by language or thought. As Bertrand Russell noted, there are two kinds of knowledge, knowledge by description and knowledge by acquaintance. You may read hundreds of books about the sweetness of sugar, but only when you taste it do you truly know what sweetness is. Likewise, you may study anicca, dukkha, anatta for years, but as long as they remain concepts, wisdom has not yet arisen. Insight dawns only when you directly see that everything is arising and ceasing, that no one is there controlling or owning anything. In that moment, the phrase "this is happening to me" dissolves, and only "this is happening" remains. The distance between me and the event disappears. That is yathabhutanyana dasana, direct seeing as it truly is. In Buddhism, karma, action, is important, but action alone cannot reach the root of suffering. One may do countless good deeds, live morally, and help others, but if craving, tanha, and clinging, upadana, still remain, suffering continues, only in subtler forms. Likewise, thinking more is not the path to insight, because thought, however sharp, still moves within the field of concepts and distinctions. When you think about something, you create a gap between the thinker and the thought. For inner phenomena such as fear, anger, or loneliness, that gap is an illusion. There is no you observing fear, there is only fear manifesting itself. The more you try to think through an emotion, the more you strengthen the duality of me and my emotion. The Buddha called this Ionasomanasakara, unwise attention. Its opposite is Jnanasomanasakara, wise attention. Awareness that adds nothing, judges nothing, simply observes the arising and passing of phenomena. It is not the quantity of thought that matters, but the quality of attention. When attention is misguided, the defilements, asava, arise. When attention is right, the defilements naturally cease. Thus the Buddha placed samadhi, right view, as the first factor of the Noble Eightfold Path. It is not by accident, for every action, thought, and meditation begins with seeing. If seeing is wrong, all effort that follows is misguided. He taught that there are two levels of right view. Worldly right view, Lokiya Samadhi. Understanding karma, cause and effect, the moral foundation that brings order to life. Supramundane right view, Lokuttara Samadhi. Directly seeing the Four Noble Truths, Kataryaryasakani. Knowing dukkha, suffering. Knowing its origin, samadaya. Knowing its cessation, nirodha. And knowing the path, magga, leading to cessation. These are not four beliefs to adopt, but four realities to see. As the Buddha said, not to be believed, but to be realized. The direct path, Satipatthana, the four foundations of mindfulness. The Buddha called Satipatthana Ikayano Magga, the one and direct path. There are four domains of observation. A. Body, kaya. Observing breathing, movements, posture, physical sensations. When the body is seen as a process, inhaling, exhaling, one begins to understand, this is not mine, not me, not myself. B. Feeling, Vedana. Noticing pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral sensations. Ordinarily, we react instantly, grasping the pleasant, resisting the unpleasant. In mindfulness, we simply observe. We see that every feeling arises from contact, lasts briefly, and dissolves. C. Mind, Chitta. Recognizing the state of mind, whether with greed or without, bright or dull. The mind is seen as a weather pattern, always changing, without a fixed owner. D. Mental objects, Dhamma. Observing mental structures, the five hindrances, Nibbana. The seven factors of enlightenment, Bodhicanga. The three marks, Tilakkhana. These are patterns of mental process, none of them is I. Two wings of a bird, Samatha and Vipassana. In the Nikayas, the Buddha never separated samatha, calm, and vipassana, insight. They are two wings of the same bird. Insight without calm, the mind is restless and unclear. Calm without insight, temporary peace, but ignorance remains. When the two are balanced, the mind becomes stable and luminous enough to perceive impermanence, unsatisfactoriness, and non-self in every breath, every arising and ceasing thought. When vipassana matures, the meditator sees that everything, sensations, thoughts, perceptions, intentions, is constantly arising and vanishing. Even the sense of I am observing appears and disappears as another phenomenon. There is no solid ground called me. The Buddha said, what is impermanent is suffering. What is suffering is non-self. What is non-self should be seen thus. This is not mine, I am not this is not myself. When this reflection becomes direct realization, not repetition by memory, the entire structure of I and mind begins to dissolve. Not because we destroy the ego, but because we see through it. Seeing that it is only an illusion arising from conditions. When impermanence is seen clearly, grasping ends. When suffering is seen clearly, we cease seeking happiness in the impermanent. When non-self is seen clearly, fear for the self vanishes. For that self never truly existed. The end of suffering is not an action, but the absence of the illusion that action is needed to become whole. That is Nibbana, the extinction of greed, hatred, and delusion. The Buddha said, there is the unborn, the unbecome, the unmade, the unconditioned. If there were not this, there would be no escape from the born, the become, the made, the conditioned. Nibbana is not a heaven or mystical state, but reality unwarped by clinging. When the mind ceases resisting and grasping, reality returns to itself, tranquil, luminous, and free. When the illusion of I dissolves, the boundary between self and others becomes transparent. We see that all beings are trapped in the same delusion, believing in a separate me, my life, and suffering in the struggle to protect it. When this is seen, karuna, compassion, is no longer a duty, but the natural radiance of wisdom. Like light spreading when clouds disappear. The Buddha taught. Just as a mother protects her only child with her own life, so should one cultivate boundless love toward all beings. Such compassion chooses no one, excludes no one, seeks no reward. For when there is no me, who gives, and who receives, there is only the flow of loving kindness, the spontaneous fragrance of understanding. Living in this way, one still works, loves, and cares, but is no longer bound by results. There is no despair in loss, no pride in success. Everything becomes a play of dependent arising. Fully lived, yet free from attachment to any role. Ultimately, seeing as it truly is does not make us someone special. It simply ends the war with reality. When resistance fades, only suchness, Dathana, remains. The truth of this very moment, needing no perfection, no change. In it arises a peace independent of circumstance. A freedom that requires no choice. A love without condition. This is the wisdom the Buddha called prajna. Direct, timeless, akalika, visible here and now, santitika. No need to wait for another life. No need to leave the world. Just see as it is. And in that very seeing, all illusions dissolve. All suffering ceases. All questions fall silent. Seeing as it is not something to do, but something to stop doing. Stop judging. Stop naming. Stop resisting. Stop searching. When the mind is still like a clear lake, the image of the world reflects perfectly, neither distorted nor added to. There is no longer a seer in the scene. Only pure seeing, complete, unmoving, untouched. Then, we no longer ask, who am I? For there is no one left to ask, and nothing left to know. There is only life knowing itself. Silent, free, boundless. That is seeing as it truly is. And in that moment, the world, for the first time, is seen through eyes unclouded.
Thank you for watching until the end of the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to watch more interesting videos.